Mist floats low between the stones, not rising, not falling, only drifting like a thought held too long. You stand barefoot on a narrow path of ancient gray slabs, worn smooth by centuries of silence. Each step carries the weight of 1,000 before you, though the air is still and no one walks beside you now. The morning is cold, not harshly so, but with the kind of quiet that clings to your skin and settles inside your chest. The walls around you are built from massive stones. No mortar, no seams, just angles too perfect, lines too precise. As if shaped not by hand, but by intention older than time. You reach out, brushing your fingers across the cool surface. The stone is damp with mist and warmer than it should be, as if it remembers the hands that once placed it. Lichen curls in soft green spirals across the base, and high above, narrow terraces ripple along the mountain spine like ribs of the earth itself. The scent of wet soil mixes with the faint perfume of faded blossoms. Somewhere behind the clouds, a sun waits to rise, but here in the folds of the Andes, the light lingers in blue shadows. You walk on. This is a city without a name on the wind, a place the world calls Machu Picchu, though the Inca may have called it something else. Perhaps a name not meant to be spoken, only lived. Historians agree it was built in the 15th century, likely for an emperor who stood where you now stand, though his name, Pachacuti, has lost its echo here. Some believe this was a retreat, a sacred observatory, a crown above the sacred valley. Others feel only questions in the stone. A soft wind brushes your shoulder, carrying with it the scent of burning Palo Santo. You follow a narrow stairway carved into the mountain's flank. As you climb, you pass through a gate made of interlocking stones. No ornament, no sign, just a passage. It frames the mist beyond like a painting. Through it, the terraces widen. You see the stone towers rising in gentle formation, like frozen guardians watching the clouds. There is no sound but your footsteps, and even that is muffled by moss. You pause near a circular structure with finely cut walls. The Temple of the Sun, they call it now. It curves with such precision that light, once a year, enters through the window and lands exactly on a carved stone inside. Some say it marked the solstice. Others whisper of rituals, of fire and feathers, of voices rising before dawn to call down the sun. There is no blood here now, no chants, no echoes. Only you, and the whisper of air between broken altars. You kneel near a fountain, where water once ran along stone channels that still glisten, though no stream feeds them. A carved face stares back at you from the water's surface, animal, human, or both, you can't be sure. Perhaps a jaguar, perhaps a god, perhaps just a shadow of someone long gone. Historians still debate whether this place was ever finished, or whether its builders abandoned it suddenly, leaving bowls unbroken, tools untouched. No battle scars, no flames. Only absence, too precise to be accidental. Far above, llamas graze between the stones, their soft hooves silent against the ancient ground. You watch one lift its head, staring at nothing or something you can't see. The animal blinks slowly, then turns away. You follow a narrow trail along the slope's edge, where the earth falls steeply into mist. Trees below are wrapped in vines, and orchids bloom unseen among their roots. A hummingbird flickers past your cheek like a passing thought. The path turns again, and you arrive at a space with no clear purpose, a room open to sky, with 3 windows cut into one wall. The 3-windowed temple. They face east, catching the pale light that finally begins to break through the veil. You sit on a stone, the chill pressing gently against your bones, and you look through those windows. Each frames the mountain differently, and, for a moment, they do not feel like windows at all, but eyes. You do not know who looked through them last. You do not know what they waited for. And further on, past the stone-lined plazas and silent doorways, you come to a room half filled with the scent of dried maize. A single woven mat remains in the corner, frayed and curled. You kneel beside it, pressing your palm to the woven fibers, and for a moment you sense warmth, faint and fleeting but there, as if someone had only just risen and stepped outside. No footprints remain, only dust. You walk to the edge where the mountain ends, where stone gives way to void, and the valley rolls out beneath you in folds of green and gold. The river threads like a silver vein through jungle far below, its song distant and low. A condor rides the wind high above, motionless but for a slow tilt of wing. It circles once, twice, then fades into the blue. Here, time no longer passes. Here, you are not a visitor. You are part of the forgetting. You lower yourself onto a flat rock, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. It is warm where the sun has touched it. You close your eyes. The air tastes of eucalyptus and stone. Somewhere, a flute plays. Faint, far away, too soft to follow, too close to ignore. You do not know how long you sit there. The stone beneath you is steady, as if it has never moved and never will. The sound of the flute fades slowly, like mist pulling back from the edge of a lake. When you open your eyes again, the world is brighter, though the sun still hides behind soft bands of cloud. Shadows stretch longer across the stone, and the terraces below gleam with dew. You rise without hurry, tracing the path with your eyes before your feet follow, as if remembering something not quite your own. The way down winds sharply, switching back between narrow ledges and shallow steps carved from the mountain itself. Ferns reach out from the walls, brushing your arms with delicate fingers. One leaf still holds the imprint of a moth's wing, perfect, fragile, stilled in time. You pass a carved stone seat, wide and flat, facing outward toward the valley. Some say it was a throne, though it bears no mark of power. Others say it was for watching the stars, or listening to the wind, or waiting for the dead. It faces nothing and everything. The trail narrows until you must turn sideways, fingers against the stone, stepping carefully over places where the path has crumbled. Far below, green canopies sway, hiding what the jungle keeps to itself. Your breath grows quiet. You descend further, past a wall of niches where something once stood, statues, offerings. Bones, now only recesses filled with shadow and spider silk. One still holds the half-shell of a bird's egg, pale blue against the dark. Soon, you reach a clearing just below the main ridge, where the earth dips into a shallow bowl. Here, the air feels warmer, more sheltered. Stone walls encircle the space loosely, as if meant to suggest a boundary rather than enforce one. In the center lies a massive, finely carved stone, the Intihuatana, they call it now, the hitching post of the sun. It rises from the bedrock like a frozen flame, angles cut with such intention that the shadow it casts shifts in precise rhythms with the seasons. You place your hand on it. It is cool to the touch, but something thrums faintly beneath your palm, like the pulse of a slow drum beneath the ground. Historians believe this was a sacred marker, used to measure the passage of the sun, to understand time, to tie the heavens to the earth. But no one can say with certainty what it truly meant. The Inca left no written record. Some accounts claim the Spanish shattered similar stones elsewhere, fearing their power. Yet this one endures, high above the river, untouched. Perhaps no conqueror ever found it. Or perhaps they did, and chose to forget. You walk around it slowly, the sun finally piercing through cloud and striking one edge with sudden brilliance. A sharp line of light falls across the grass, then shifts, then softens. You sit nearby, watching, until the light fades once more. A breeze moves through the trees with a sigh. Something in the grass stirs. A feather, long and dark, rests near your foot, condor, perhaps, or crow. You do not touch it. Further on, you find a stairway that leads nowhere. Its final steps end at a wall, cleanly cut, with no door, no window, just stone. The steps are worn. Someone once walked them often. You imagine bare feet, sandals, the weight of robes. You place your foot on the first step and climb anyway. At the top, the view opens, an arc of mountains, soft and green, layered like folded cloth in the haze. A shape far across the ridge, round, pale, and open to the sky, catches your eye. A ceremonial circle, perhaps, or a garden, or a burial site. The purpose is lost. The air grows thinner here. Each breath comes longer, slower. You feel the weight of silence settle around your shoulders like a shawl. High grasses whisper against your legs. You turn and descend again, this time following a narrow canal, a groove in the stone, worn deep by water long since gone. The sound of footsteps echoes behind you once, but when you glance back, the path is empty. Only wind, only shadow. Eventually, you come to a small doorway half hidden by vines. You crouch to enter. Inside, the light dims, filtered through stone slits in the wall. This room is colder. The air smells of dust and roots and ancient smoke. You press your hand to the wall and feel carvings beneath your fingers. Lines, shapes, spirals. Not writing, but something older. A language of touch, not sound. One pattern repeats, a sun, a hand, a mountain. In the far corner sits a small altar no taller than your knee. Upon it rests a bundle wrapped in faded cloth. You do not open it. You do not need to. The air around it is heavy with reverence. Someone placed it here gently. You kneel, not in prayer, but in stillness. The fabric is sun-worn and frayed. Beneath it you sense weight. Bone, ash, or nothing at all. Historians still debate whether Machu Picchu was a home for the living or a doorway for the dead. Some say it was never meant to last. Others say it was never meant to be found. You do not answer. You rise and step back into the light. Outside, the mist has risen fully now, revealing the city in full, a tapestry of stone folded into the mountain. No smoke, no voices, only breath. You begin walking again, deeper into the ruins, toward whatever lies beyond. The path narrows again, curling along the mountain's curve like a ribbon unfurling through the mist. Beneath your feet, small pebbles shift and click against the larger stones. Their sound quick and hollow, like distant footsteps trying to catch up. On your right, the mountain climbs sharply, veined with roots and moss. To your left, the slope falls away into a tangle of green so thick that even the wind moves slowly through it, whispering between leaves with a breath too old to name. You walk with your hand, grazing the wall for balance, letting your fingers learn the texture of the earth's memory. A large doorway appears ahead, flanked by blocks taller than you. It doesn't rise high. It sinks into the mountain instead, sloping downward in darkness. You duck your head and step through. The air changes. It becomes dense, still, pressed close against your skin. A narrow corridor stretches before you, leading deeper into shadow. Small openings above allow faint beams of light to enter. Angled sharply so the rays seem like blades of pale gold cutting through the gloom. Your footsteps make no sound here. The walls press in slightly, not to threaten but to hush. Far ahead, a room opens, round, with a domed ceiling of interlocking stone. In the center lies a low, circular platform surrounded by hollow niches. It smells faintly of ash, though no fire burns. The stones are warm under your palms, smoother than they should be. Someone once polished them carefully again and again. You sit on the edge of the platform and close your eyes. For a moment, you can almost hear them, the voices, the rhythm, the soft pounding of palms on stone. When you rise, you notice the marks. On the floor, shallow indentations, like the wear from repeated kneeling, or dancing, or perhaps something quieter, meditation, watching, waiting. Around the room, symbols are carved into the walls, stars, lines, waves, and spirals. One spiral winds inward, coiling so tightly it disappears into the stone, as though it leads somewhere beneath your reach. Historians believe this chamber was used for ritual. They call it the ceremonial room, though no one knows what was spoken here, or if anything was spoken at all. One theory suggests sound behaved strangely within the space, that a whisper from the center could echo perfectly to each wall, while a shout vanished. The acoustics remain unstudied, but those who've entered often emerge quieter than before. You move on, guided now by instinct more than sight. The corridor winds deeper and becomes cooler, and soon, a stream appears beside the path, barely a trickle of clear water over smooth stone. You follow it until it spills gently into a small basin carved into the floor. The water glistens, unmoving, though there is no cover above. You crouch and touch it, it's ice cold. A single white flower floats on its surface, fresh, unbruised. You didn't place it there. Beyond the basin, the tunnel opens into another chamber, narrower but taller. The ceiling arches above like a rib cage of the earth. One beam of sunlight cuts through a slit high above, catching on something metallic embedded in the stone, a tiny disk of gold, no larger than your thumb. It reflects onto the wall, a flickering gleam that dances with your breath. You step closer. The disk is worn, but shaped with intention. It resembles a sun, with fine lines radiating outward. There are more, hidden in the stone, some silver, some copper, each placed in a deliberate rhythm along the chamber's length. Scholars debate their meaning. Some say these discs aligned with certain stars, catching light during solstices and equinoxes. Others argue they were merely decoration, symbols of status or faith. But one theory remains, that they mapped something, perhaps the sky, perhaps the soul. The original purpose is lost. The gold remains. You leave the chamber slowly, stepping through an arch that seems to lead back outside, only to find yourself in a garden instead, though no flowers bloom. Stone beds stretch in neat rows, now covered in moss and ferns. Narrow canals run between them, dry and cracked, yet still shaped to guide water precisely. On a central platform stands a large stone urn, empty, but stained with years of use. Beside it, a stone pestle lies tilted as if just set down. The smell here is unfamiliar. Not floral, not bitter, but earthy, sharp, and dry. You breathe it in, and your tongue remembers a taste you've never known. This may have been the garden of the priestesses, if such a role existed. Some stories, faint and uncertain, speak of women who tended sacred herbs here, whose songs shaped the growth of plants and guided the moon's path. No records confirm this, but one carving on the urn suggests a figure with long hair, arms raised, surrounded by birds in flight. The detail is faint, softened by rain, forgotten by time, but the gesture remains. You linger here, standing among what was once harvest, then return the way you came. The corridors behind you seem darker now, the air heavier, as if something has shifted in your absence. You do not hurry. You walk with care, one foot placed gently before the next. The stones beneath you remember your steps. You are not the first to pass here, and you will not be the last. Emerging once more into open air, you blink against the sudden brightness. The valley spreads wide before you, the city below now distant, tucked into the folds of the land like a secret. You turn slightly, following a new path that winds upward. It is steeper now. The climb takes your breath more quickly, but the view expands with each step, unfolding in layers. Terraces, walls, towers, sky. And then you see it, at the very top, just beneath the clouds. A solitary building stands. Small, rectangular, open on three sides. Its roof is gone, long since lost to wind and weather, but its walls remain. The watchman's hut, they call it, though no one knows who watched or what they waited to see. You make your way toward it, wind rising in a soft howl through the grass. The hut is empty. The bench inside is worn smooth, and a single carved post remains at its center, leaning slightly, as if tired. You sit. From here, all of Machu Picchu lies before you, and beyond, the sky is open, endless. You lean against the post, and the wind presses gently against your back. Somewhere, far below, a bird calls out once, then falls silent. You close your eyes again. The stone beneath you breathes warmth from the sun's passing, though the clouds now drift thick and slow across the peaks. The world stretches below in folds of green and shadow, the ridgelines like the backs of sleeping beasts. You sit in the watchman's hut and feel the hush settle again, not from absence, but from presence too vast a name. The mountains do not speak, but they listen. The silence here is not empty. It is full, waiting, wrapped in layers of time. Eventually, you rise. Your fingers brush the bench's edge, rough with lichen, and then the carved post, where someone once carved shallow circles near its base. Maybe a symbol, maybe idle work while waiting. You don't know. The wind follows you down the slope, tugging gently at your sleeves as if reluctant to let you go. The descent is steeper now, the path slick with moss in places, and you move with care, feeling each step through your knees, your heels, your breath. The view shifts as you go, first wide and distant, then closer, framed again by walls and trees and stone. You find yourself entering a quieter part of the ruins, far from the open terraces and sacred stones. Here, the walls are lower, the layout more irregular. Small rooms, partial enclosures, a pattern too fractured to name. Some say these were homes, not of nobles or priests, but of workers, builders, those who lived in the shadow of the higher rituals. The stones here are less precisely cut, gaps filled with gravel, curves rather than perfect angles. Still, the care remains. Each wall built by hand, each stone lifted and placed with quiet intention. You pause at one doorway. It is narrow, low. The lintel stone still rests in place, unbroken, dark with age. You enter. Inside, the light is soft, muted by time and ivy. A sleeping platform rises from one side, no longer covered with cloth or fur, only flat and waiting. You sit for a moment. The air smells faintly of dust and dried leaves. You close your eyes, and behind your lids the space shifts. Firelight flickers. A bowl sits steaming beside the bed. Someone's breath rises slow and rhythmic in sleep. You're not here, but you are. Back outside, you wander deeper into the residential sector, where the rooms grow tighter, closer. Some open into each other. Others are sealed, their entrances choked by time. You place your hand against one such door. No longer wood, only the stone frame where something once closed, and feel the warmth of the sun through the wall. It vibrates faintly, as if remembering laughter, footsteps, the clatter of bowls and voices. One courtyard lies open, with a circular fire pit at its center. Charcoal still clings to the edges. Someone, long ago, built a hearth here and cooked under the stars. You find pieces of clay scattered nearby. One shard shows a faint design, 3 curved lines, a crescent, and what might have been a bird. Others are plain, worn smooth, yet oddly comforting in your hand. You leave them where they are. A narrow stairway leads downward into another part of the city. At its base, you come to a small spring, fed by a channel that glistens as it trickles between stones. The water is cold and clear. You cup your hands and drink. The taste is sharp, alive with mineral and mountain. Nearby, a stone basin collects the flow, carved with perfect symmetry, though cracked now across one edge. This was likely part of the city's water system, engineered with such precision that it still carries water centuries later. The Incas understood gravity, understood slope, understood the need for stillness and motion in equal measure. But beside the basin lies something stranger, a carved niche, empty but perfectly formed, its top arched like a window. No statue remains, no offering, and yet someone placed petals here recently. Pink, faintly fragrant. They have not wilted. You don't know who came before you. Further along, the path forks. To the left, open space and terraces. To the right, a narrow stair climbing steeply between 2 sheer walls. You choose the right. Each step rises high, cut to force a deliberate pace. The air cools. Shadows gather. The light shifts from gold to silver as you ascend, until at last, you emerge into a sacred space, a narrow platform overlooking the entire valley, with high walls enclosing 3 sides. The Temple of the 3 Windows. Each window is tall and trapezoidal, carved from single blocks. Through them, the world is framed in thirds: mountain, sky, river. The breeze enters gently, curling around your ankles, carrying scents of moss and ash. You step toward the center, where a large altar stone rests. Its surface is smooth, flat, etched faintly with something too shallow to read. You run your fingers across it, but no words rise. It is said that this temple marked the origin of the Inca people, the three windows representing their mythical beginnings, their journey from the cave of Tamputoco. Or perhaps it simply framed the world in beauty. Some believe the temple was used only during certain days of a year, aligned with the solstice sun or the rising of a specific constellation. The truth has faded, but the windows remain. Through the center window, you glimpse something strange. Far across the valley, high on another ridge, a shape, not natural, not random. A ring of stones, perhaps, or a low wall. You blink. The light changes. It vanishes. You step back. The temple quiets as dusk gathers. You remain for a while, watching the last light move across the walls, slipping gently out through the windows. When you finally leave, you do so slowly, as though closing a door behind you that was never meant to open. As you descend, night falls gently over the city. The wind softens. The air thickens with the scent of earth and stone. You walk toward the next structure, an open courtyard ring with pillars, many fallen, some standing still. The grass here grows taller, unchecked, and the stars above begin to appear one by one, reflected in the quiet pools along the terraces. You do not speak. You do not think. You only walk. The stars deepen overhead as you cross into the courtyard, where the pillars stand like sentinels half remembering their purpose. Some lean slightly, others lie in fragments on the ground, moss thickening along their broken edges. The earth beneath your feet is uneven, filled with small dips where water once pooled, where perhaps footsteps turn to kneeling or to rest. You slow your pace without meaning to, drawn into the stillness that gathers in the corners of this place, thick and velvet as night itself. You pass beneath an arch that leads into another chamber. This one partially collapsed. The roof has given way, revealing a slice of sky framed in stone. It feels like a wound. The moonlight falls through in a silver stream, washing over what remains. A narrow bench carved directly into the wall, a hollow niche with soot-blackened stone, a circle etched into the floor. You step around it, careful not to disturb its lines, though no one has used it in hundreds of years. Some believe this was once the house of the high priest, or high priestess. No records name them. No tombs have been found. Yet the design is deliberate. The alignment with the moon, the faint impression of ceremonial wear along the floor, the trace of something burnt more fragrant than wood. You crouch near the circle and inhale, and the scent lingers still, though you cannot place it, sharp and herbal, bitter but not unpleasant. In one corner, a carving has survived. A handprint, just one, pressed deep into the wall, smaller than yours. It may have been a mark of completion, or devotion, or farewell. Historians discovered it only recently, hidden behind lichen. Some suggest it was left during a rite of passage. Others say it was merely chance, a child's play, frozen in time. No one agrees, but it remains. As you leave the ruined chamber, you find yourself in a narrow alley between two walls, so close your shoulders nearly brush both sides. The stars vanish here, replaced by a thin blue glow that seems to rise from the very stones. Bioluminescent lichen, some say, rare at this altitude. You trace it with your fingertips, and the glow pulses gently at your touch, like a heartbeat slowed to ancient rhythm. It lights your way until the passage opens again, revealing a broader path that descends toward the far end of the ruins. Ahead lies the Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun. A tall carved stone rises from its platform, its angle sharp, its placement exact. You approach with reverence. The platform is silent, its edges defined with mathematical precision. The stone itself casting a strange shadow that seems both longer and shorter than it should be. You place your hand gently on its side, and the coldness of it rushes up your arm. Not the cold of night, but of distance, of calculation, of something set so precisely that it exists slightly outside time. Scholars agree it was an astronomical tool, used to mark solstices and equinoxes. The Incas watched the sun's shadow shift along its lines to understand the seasons, the festivals, the planting of crops. But some say it was more than that, a spiritual anchor, a tether holding the world in place. During the Spanish conquest, many such stones were destroyed, yet this one remains untouched. Whether by chance or fear, no one knows. You sit on the platform's edge and let your gaze drift to the stars again. They seem closer now, not brighter, but more present, like they have gathered here to witness something you do not yet understand. You close your eyes, and the stone hums faintly beneath your palm. A pressure builds in the air, light but persistent, like a thought you can almost remember. When you open your eyes, nothing has changed, yet you rise with a breath slower than before. The path beyond the Intihuatana winds downward into quieter ruins. You pass long stone walls built without mortar, each block fitting the next so precisely that not even a blade of grass grows between them. The moonlight clings to their edges, turning them silver. Some of these walls seem to belong to nothing. No doorway, no window, no enclosure. Just stone, rising and ending in silence. They may have been foundations for something never built, or for something now gone. In one corner, you discover a broken stair descending into a hidden chamber. You descend slowly, each step groaning faintly beneath your weight. At the bottom lies a small room with no roof, the walls etched in patterns too faint to decipher. One image survives, a serpent coiled in a spiral, its eyes wide, its mouth open. Around it, small stars cluster in uneven groups, some connected by faint lines. This has never appeared in the official records. Perhaps it was missed. Perhaps it was hidden. The room smells of dust and stone. A single tree grows nearby, roots curling through the broken steps, its leaves rustling even when the air is still. You rest your back against the wall, letting the serpent watch over you, letting the mystery rest beside you. You do not ask what it means. You only breathe. You rise again and follow the broken path, now leading toward the far edge of the city. There, you find an overlook, flat stone, nothing built upon it but a place to stop and look. And so you do. You lean on the edge and see the valley below swallowed in shadow, the river threading through it like glass. You see the outline of a bird fly low across the land, silent. You hear nothing but wind. Behind you, the ruins settle into their sleep. The stars pulse. The mountains remain, and you for now are still. At the edge of the overlook, you remain for some time, watching the night unfold in its slow, unhurried silence. The wind brushes past your cheek, cool and dry, carrying with it the faintest whisper of wet stone and crushed leaves. Far below, the river glistens like a sleeping serpent, curving through the dark basin, its motion too slow to hear, too patient to disturb. The stars above shift subtly, as if nudged by the rhythm of breath. Yours, or the world's, you cannot tell. When you finally turn from the ledge, the path draws you downward again, into a part of the city few reach. The vegetation grows thicker here, shrubs pressing in close, tree roots lifting the edges of the stone trail, moss threading through every crack. You move slowly, your hand grazing the walls for balance, fingers trailing the contours of forgotten masonry. The air here smells of sap and shadow, damp with the memory of rain. You find a gate, a low arch of carved stone, almost hidden beneath ivy. It leads into a walled garden, though no flowers bloom now. The soil lies bare, though faint lines in the earth hint at rose, at order. The wind changes when you enter. A hush settles across the space, not of absence, but of expectation. You kneel and press your palm to the dirt. It's cool, soft. Something was grown here once, something tended with care. This place does not appear on most maps. It is not mentioned in guides or studies. And yet, the stone troughs still line the walls for irrigation. A channel runs in a perfect line, now dry. A single tree leans in from the outer wall, roots tangled like sleeping limbs. Beneath it, a scatter of petals, brown now, but still fragrant if crushed. You wonder if someone else comes here still, quietly, leaving offerings only the garden understands. You follow the irrigation channel to its source, where spring once trickled from a carved spout. The spout remains, shaped like a feline head, perhaps a puma, the sacred guardian of this place. Its eyes are wide, its jaw open. A trickle of water escapes still, cool, and clear, and you lean close to drink. The stone tastes of iron and old leaves. As the water touches your lips, a breath of wind passes behind you. You turn. No one stands there. Beyond the garden lies a structure unlike the others. It rises higher than the rest, though its walls are narrow, less fortified. The steps leading to it are smaller, worn smooth by countless ascents. At the threshold, you pause. The doorway is wide and tall, and on either side are niches, as if awaiting statues that never arrived. You step inside. This is the Temple of the Moon. Inside, the walls glimmer faintly, not from light, but from the texture of the stone itself, flecked with minerals that catch even the dimmest starlight. You walk the perimeter slowly, feeling the shape of the space through your footsteps. The ceiling curves in a gentle dome, open at the top, where moonlight pours down like silver smoke. At the center lies an altar, not as large as the one for the sun, but smoother, older. Carved into its surface is the faint outline of a crescent. Not exact, not symmetrical, as though shaped by memory rather than measurement. Some believe this temple predates the city, that it was built into the rock before the rest of the citadel rose around it. Others think it was meant as balance, a twin to the solar rituals above, though attended by fewer, remembered by less. Its purpose is not fully known. Historians still debate whether it was ceremonial, astronomical, or funerary. Bones have been found in its lower chambers, human, animal, some marked with ochre, some curled as if sleeping. You sit beside the altar, letting the moonlight fall across your arms, your hands, the tops of your thighs. The air is cooler here. Still, you close your eyes. The sounds of the world fade further. Only your breath remains. And beneath that, a deeper sound, the slow rhythm of the earth turning. You rest your hand upon the stone, and it feels warm beneath the surface, as if something still lives within it. When you rise, you descend through a small tunnel behind the altar. The walls narrow. You brush both sides with your shoulders. The floor slopes, then levels, then opens into a chamber lined with shelves cut into the rock. Nothing rests there now, but once you imagine, these held offerings, stones, feathers, bowls of ash, or perhaps words scratched in a bark. One ledge still holds a shard of ceramic, its edge glazed in deep blue. You take nothing. You breathe again. You emerge from the temple into a narrow corridor bordered by terraces, where long grasses sway beneath the moonlight. The path winds and switchbacks, and below, a low wall marks the boundary of the city's outer edge. You pause there, resting against the final stone before the slope gives way to wilderness. A thin mist begins to rise from the valley, curling around your legs, sliding along the path like smoke escaping from old stories. To your left, a small structure sits on its own, disconnected from the city's heart. You step toward it. The door has collapsed, but the walls remain, the roof still intact. Inside is a single room, simple and silent. One bench, one shelf. On the wall, a sunken shape, a spiral surrounded by radiating lines. You reach out and touch it. The stone is warm, impossibly so. Not from light, not from flame. It pulses faintly, as if remembering something vital. Some believe this was a place of rest for those who tended the fire, keepers of ritual, of memory. The spiral symbol has appeared elsewhere in Andean sites, yet no one agrees on its meaning. Time, eternity, a path, or perhaps simply a map. You lie down on the bench. The mist thickens beyond the doorway. The wind no longer stirs. The stars blur above. Or maybe it's your eyes. You listen, and the city listens back. Stone to skin, breath to silence. Then you close your eyes. The night does not end here. When you open your eyes again, the world feels changed, quieter, deeper, as if you've slipped beneath the surface of time itself. The mist still drapes the hills, coiling along the stone paths like a living thing, drawn not by air but by memory. You rise from the bench slowly, limbs heavy with stillness, and step once more into the quiet outside. A new path awaits, narrow and slightly descending, bordered by low walls now crumbled with age. Moss thickens here, muffling your footsteps, clinging to the edges of ancient stone as if trying to pull it back into the earth. You move without hurry. You do not need to rush. Everything around you moves with the same rhythm, the rhythm of wind over granite, of time collecting in forgotten corners. You pass beneath an arched lintel where vines have claimed the upper curve, leaves trembling slightly, though there is no breeze. Beneath the arch, the ground slopes toward a deeper structure, half buried, partially swallowed by the hillside. You descend into its shadow, and the air cools sharply. The scent here is earthy and old. Wet dust, roots, stone worn by centuries of breath. Inside, the ceiling hangs low, carved from solid rock. You walk a narrow corridor that curves gently, turning your sense of direction into something abstract and unimportant. Along the walls, faint patterns have been etched, lines, curves, circles, shapes that repeat but never fully resolve. You trace one with your finger and feel the groove where some ancient hand once pressed a tool, perhaps under torchlight, perhaps under starlight, perhaps in silence. This is the underground chamber known as the Room of Echoes. Not because it amplifies sound, but because sound disappears. You test it, speaking a word softly, and the air swallows it whole. No return. No echo. As if the room is listening and will not speak back. No one knows its purpose. It lies beneath no temple, connects to no shrine. Some say it was a storehouse. Others think it was a sanctuary, a place where silence was sacred. There are no carvings of gods, only shapes. As you move deeper, a second chamber opens, smaller, round, with a pit at its center. You peer inside, expecting only earth or shadow. Instead, you see a shimmer, water still and black. So calm it reflects the faint light from your path above. You kneel beside it. The surface does not ripple. You reach toward it, but do not touch. There is something unsettling in its stillness. Something that suggests it remembers every visitor and forgets none. You rise again. The next room is taller. The ceiling arches upwards suddenly, and the walls flare with inlaid stone, lighter than the rest, almost white, veined with silver. In the middle of the floor is a circle of arranged stones, each flat and worn, set in a pattern that mirrors a constellation above. You stand within it, unsure whether this was meant for gathering or solitude. The air here feels charged, almost metallic, a scent of rain, though the sky above remains dry. You look upward, but the ceiling is smooth and whole. You leave the underground slowly, returning to the surface where the dawn has not yet arrived. The sky has lightened only slightly, a soft blue-gray pressing at the horizon. The mist begins to lift, revealing details half hidden before, small alcoves and walls, broken tools beside stones, fragments of pottery cradled in overgrown roots. The city breathes again, slowly, as if waking with you. You turn toward the far southern ridge, where the buildings are fewer and the terrain rougher. As you climb, the path narrows and stones shift beneath your steps. Birds call from the trees now, low and repetitive, as if marking time. When you reach the top, you see them, rows of step terraces carved into the hillside, each precisely aligned, each bordered by walls that follow the natural slope of the land. These agricultural terraces once fed the entire population, layered into the mountain like the ribs of the earth itself. They capture the sun, conserve the rain, hold warmth through the chill of night. Some still yield wild herbs, soft mint, bitter-rooted tubers, flowers with names lost to speech. You run your hand through the low grasses growing wild among them. Dew clings to your skin. Insects stir below, unseen. Scholars agree that the ingenuity of these terraces was unmatched, an engineering feat that harnessed both terrain and weather. But there remains debate about one particular feature. At the base of the terraces lies a small, enclosed platform with 5 narrow channels carved into the rock, all meeting in a basin that holds no water. Some believe it to be a drainage system. Others say it was ceremonial, a place where the first seeds were blessed before planting. No consensus, only stone and silence. You follow the lowest terrace around a bend where a stone stair cuts upward again, narrow and steep. At the top stands a structure with thick walls and an open ceiling. The floor is marked with square recesses, now filled with rainwater, some lined with cracked ceramic tiles. This was once a bathhouse, perhaps for ritual cleansing, perhaps for rest. The Inca believed in the power of water to purify not just the body but the spirit. You kneel beside one of the pools, now green with time. You dip your hand. The water is cold. It stings. A bird lands nearby, its feathers iridescent blue-green in the soft light. It watches you without sound, tilting its head once, then twice before taking flight again. Its wings stir the air, leaving a hush behind. You sit on the edge of the stone platform, feet dangling above a path you have not yet walked. The wind returns, light and steady, brushing your face like the sweep of cloth through air. The sky pales further. Day will come soon, though it has not yet arrived. For now, you remain, stone beneath you, sky above, breath soft and slow in the hush of the mountain's dream. As the first true strands of sunlight begin to stretch across the eastern ridge, their warmth touches only the highest points, stone towers, sharp corners, the crooked bones of ancient roofs. You descend again, moving through the softened light, following a trail that curls around the edge of the citadel like a ribbon of shadow. The warmth does not yet reach your skin, but the mountain begins to exhale. Mist rises in gentle drifts, thinning, revealing more of the old stone beneath your feet. You pass a cluster of smaller buildings, each no larger than a single room, with low doors and narrow windows. Their walls are rougher here, their symmetry broken by time or disuse. You step into one, the roof long gone, but the corners still intact. The ground is scattered with fragments, small bones, cracked shells, a piece of woven cord frayed at the edges. You sit for a moment on the edge of a threshold worn smooth by feet that came before you. The silence here is different, less sacred, more lived in. You imagine voices, not prayers but laughter, work, children's shouts. Not all spaces were built for gods. Some are simply built to endure. The trail bends toward a gate, 2 massive vertical stones supporting a single lintel, darkened with age, yet unbroken. As you step beneath it, your shadow lengthens. Beyond lies the quarry. This is where the mountain was carved, where stone was born into purpose. Slabs of granite lie where they fell, or were left, cut but unfinished. Some bear the marks of tools, straight grooves, round notches, curved fractures where a hammer struck too hard. Others lie smooth and silent, as though waiting for hands that never returned. You walk slowly between the stones, your footsteps soft on the dust. A breeze stirs the powder into the air, where it dances briefly in the light. One stone leans against another, perfectly balanced, as though set in place for reasons no longer known. Some believe this quarry was sacred, that stone was not simply a material, but a gift of the earth that required offering in return. In one corner, a boulder bears a petroglyph, barely visible, but unmistakable, a spiral within a square, surrounded by dots. Some say it is a map, others a prayer. At the far edge of the quarry lies a narrow stairway, chipped and cracked, leading upward into a steep wall. You climb it, one hand brushing the rock for balance. The sun begins to rise in earnest now, gilding the world in amber and shadow. The air sharpens. You feel the weight of elevation in your lungs, in the tightness of your chest, in the cool sting at the tip of your nose. At the top of the stair, you reach what the old records call the Watcher's Niche, a high, narrow chamber cut into the cliff face itself. Inside, there's no decoration, no altar, only a ledge that faces the entire valley. You step forward and sit, legs drawn close, eyes cast outward. The view stretches for miles. Mountains layered like waves, clouds caught between them, forests draped like cloaks over their shoulders. It is a place built not for worship, but for waiting, for watching. And yet, even here, mysteries remain. A small groove runs along the edge of a ledge, too straight to be natural, too deliberate to be chance. No one agrees on its use. Some believe it held a staff or ceremonial pole. Others think it channeled water, though no source remains. You press your finger into it and feel the depth. It is shallow, smooth. It has held something long ago. You descend again, this time to the heart of the southern sector, where few paths lead and fewer still have lingered. The ground here is uneven, sunken in places where stones have shifted or vanished entirely. At the center lies a rectangular structure with 3 chambers, each darker than the last. You enter the first, open to the sky, with walls lined in niches, each empty, each identical. The second chamber is deeper. No light reaches its center. You move by touch, fingers brushing cold stone, tracing the outline of doorways barely wider than your shoulders. In the final chamber, you find a pool, shallow, black still. Its surface does not reflect. It absorbs. A single beam of light, falling through a crack above, touches its edge. You kneel beside it. The air is dense here. Heavy. You place a hand near the water and feel nothing. No breeze, no warmth, only the closeness of something long dormant. Some believe this was a place of burial. Others think it was where initiates were taken, not to die, but to forget. A place where names were lost and new cells began. You do not stay long. Outside, the sun now bathes the entire city in gold. The walls glow, the stones warm beneath your steps. The coldness of night recedes slowly, clinging to shadows. You walk toward the northern wall, where terraces end and the forest begins again. Birds call, insects hum, leaves stir above, dropping flecks of shadow across your arms and neck. You find a small outbuilding here, circular, with no roof. Its walls are lined with vertical slits, evenly spaced. You step inside, and the sound changes. Wind hums through the slits, forming low tones, accidental music. Or perhaps not accidental at all. You close your eyes. The tones rise and fall. They never repeat. It is as though the mountain is singing to itself. Some believe this was used for meditation, for sound rituals, or to mark the seasons. Still others believe it to be a trap, built to lure and hold certain frequencies, certain words. There are stories of voices heard here, of whispers and languages no longer spoken, rising from the stones and fading just before they can be understood. You remain there a moment longer, letting the wind pass over you, through you. It brushes your hair, lifts the edge of your sleeve, stirs the dust at your feet. Then it is gone. The city waits ahead. More stairs, more silence, more places where stone remembers what you have forgotten. The path turns sharply downward now, curling like a ribbon cast from the height of stone to the green folds of forest below. Your steps are careful, each one tested before the next. As gravel loosens beneath your soles and the air grows richer, thicker, touched by the breath of leaves. The towering walls of the citadel begin to fade behind you, replaced by slope and thicket, by moss-covered branches that arch above like ribs of an old cathedral. And beneath it all, the murmuring begins, a faint sound, too distant to name, but constant. You follow it, without question. The forest closes in gently, not with threat but with curiosity. Ferns unfurl beside your legs, and vines dangle with lazy grace from the overhangs. You touch one. It sways slightly, as though it remembers being touched before. The light dims, filtered through thick canopies that turn the morning gold into deep green shadow. Somewhere ahead, the murmuring grows clearer. It is water, a stream perhaps, or something larger. You cross a narrow wooden bridge, its planks darkened with age, softened by countless rains. Beneath it, the river twists, a sinuous thread of silver caught in a cradle of stone. You follow its edge, brushing aside reeds and branches, until you reach a hollow at the base of cliff. And there it waits, an ancient stair carved directly into the rock, wet from centuries of mist. You ascend slowly, the sound of water following you, echoing between the cliffs like a remembered song. At the top, the world opens again, not to buildings but to carvings. The walls of the cliff are covered in them, long bands of symbols, spirals, animal shapes, abstract lines like constellations drawn by someone who had only ever seen the sky through dreams. You move your fingers across them, feeling the depth, the sharpness worn down by time. Some still bear pigment, red ochre, faded gold. A hint of blue that shimmers only when the light strikes it, just so. This is the singing wall. That is what the few old records call it. Not for sound, but for something else. Some say the wall once told stories. Not through words, but through vibration. That when touched in the right order, it hummed beneath the skin. Others believe the wall was a map, a depiction of realms both real and imagined, layered together in ways now lost. No one agrees. The symbols have no known language, and yet they seem familiar, as if you have seen them somewhere before. In dream, in water, in firelight, you sit beside the wall, tracing a spiral over and over again, letting your thoughts slow to match the rhythm of your breath. Around you, the forest hushes. Even the birds grow quiet. It is as if the air itself has paused. Eventually, you rise and continue. The trail bends behind the cliff, climbing again into a new terrace, a field overgrown with wild grasses, dotted with crumbling walls that outline the foundations of homes long vanished. Here, you find a remnant of a circular plaza, its center sunken slightly, as if worn by footsteps or by ritual. In the middle, a broken pedestal stands. Nothing rests atop it now, but the marks remain, scratches from metal, indentations where weight once pressed stone into stone. Scholars believe a statue once stood here. Tall, slender, possibly female, a guardian or seer. But no fragments of it have ever been found. No base, no pieces scattered nearby, as if it was never destroyed, only taken, or perhaps never truly there. You sit beside the pedestal and watch the wind move through the grass. It shifts in waves like breath, like memory. A path leads outward from the plaza, less defined now, covered in fallen leaves and narrow roots. You follow it with care, stepping over the coils and bends of nature reclaiming its space. After some time, the trees thin again and the terrain levels. You emerge into a sunlit glade, open, quiet, the ground soft with moss. In its center lies a pool, perfectly round, its edge lined with pale stones placed so precisely they form a single unbroken ring. The water is clear. You can see the bottom, smooth, pale rock, and nothing else. No life, no motion. The air here is unusually still, as if sealed. You kneel at the edge, peer into the pool. Your reflection waits there. It does not ripple. It stares back at you with the same breathless silence that surrounds everything else. This is the moon mirror, so named by travelers who say it reflects the moon even during the day, even when clouds hide the sky. Some dismiss it as legend. Others have tested the claim, but the reports vary. Sometimes it shows only the sky. Sometimes it shows stars when there are none. And once, according to an old, nearly forgotten account, it showed a face that was not the observer's. A face older than memory. Smiling. You dip your hand into the water. It resists. Cold. Not like mountain water, but like metal. Then it lets you in. The cold spreads slowly up your wrist, not painful, only precise, like being weighed or measured. You pull your hand back. It is wet. Nothing more. You move again, crossing the glade toward another arch, half fallen, covered in vines, nearly swallowed by earth. Through it, the forest resumes. The light dims again, the green deepens. You find yourself walking downward, though there is no stair, only a slope so gradual it feels like sliding into sleep. Ahead, the sound of water returns, but different now. Not the rush of rivers or the hush of streams. This is deeper, slower, like breathing. You push aside a curtain of hanging moss and find the source. A cavern opens before you, wide-mouthed and dim. Water drips from its ceiling in perfect rhythm, striking a stone below that glistens with calcite. You step inside. The air cools instantly, wrapping you in silence. Your footsteps echo softly, then vanish. At the far end of the cavern, the rock glows faintly, mineral veins catching the last of the light. Among them, handprints, small, delicate, placed high, as if by someone lifted. Dozens of them, some overlapping, all turned inward. No one knows who made them. They do not match the known styles of the region. Their pigment differs from anything found nearby, and no tool marks around them. No scaffolding, no ladders, no guides. As if those hands simply reached out from within the stone itself, leaving their mark before fading. You reach out. You place your hand over one of them. It is smaller than yours, colder. You breathe in, hold the breath, and listen. But the cavern does not speak. Outside, the forest waits. And beyond the forest, more stone, more wind, more names forgotten but not gone. You return to the path as the sun arcs higher, its heat now drifting down through the treetops in long, golden shafts that catch in the dust, illuminating the moats like tiny, drifting lanterns. Your body moves steadily, slower than before, not from weariness but reverence. Each step measured, each breath deep, as if the land itself requests gentleness. The ground beneath your feet softens with moss and fallen petals, and overhead, birds call out with voices that echo like fragments of forgotten songs. The forest clears once more, revealing a rise in the land. A gentle hill topped by a ring of stone columns, their tops broken or missing, their fluted surfaces streaked with age and lichen. You ascend toward them, boots brushing aside dry leaves, and step between the columns as if entering a memory. At the center lies a wide stone disk, cracked into 3 uneven pieces. You kneel beside it and trace the fracture lines with your fingertips. There is no writing here, only the faint imprint of something once embedded in the center, round, hollow, and long gone. This was once called the Wheel of Silence, though no one now remembers why. Some say it was a sundial, others a stage for rituals that required no words. A single record mentions the disc turning once, a slow, grinding movement that echoed across the valley, but no one since has witnessed such a thing. The idea remains that something here once moved of its own will. You lie back upon the stone, eyes to the sky, letting the warmth sink into your spine. The clouds drift slowly, untethered, and for a moment, the hum of the forest falls away. No insects, no birds, only the faint creak of the columns swaying ever so slightly in the breeze. Rising again, you pass through the broken pillars and descend the far side of the hill, where the terrain shifts once more, stone giving way to dry earth, hard-packed, scattered with pebbles that crunch beneath your steps. A narrow trail veers west, winding between the roots of enormous trees. You follow it without question. The air here grows drier, touched with a scent like crushed bark and iron. And soon, you see it ahead, a stone wall rising from the soil, not grand or ceremonial, but plain and unmarked. Its top is flat, its corners sharp. As you near, you notice something unusual. The wall is warm. You press your hand against it and feel a subtle heat radiating outward, as though the stone has stored the sun and refuses to let it go. The warmth isn't uncomfortable. It hums beneath your skin like a heartbeat, and when you pull away, your palm tingles. Beneath the wall, a doorway sinks into the earth, stone steps leading downward into cool shadow. You descend slowly, the temperature dropping with each step. The passage tightens, curves left, then widens into a small chamber lit by a single shaft of light from above. And within it, a shelf carved into the wall, holding rows of smooth, flat stones. You take one. Its surface is dark, polished, inscribed not with words, but with faint patterns, dots and arcs, etched so shallowly they vanish if turned at the wrong angle. You run your fingers across it. The grooves are precise, almost mechanical in their symmetry. Historians argue over these tablets. Some say they are calendars. Others say maps of the stars. and a few, only a few, claim they're musical, a kind of silent score meant to be read by touch rather than sound. You place the stone back carefully, almost reluctant to let it go, and rise to leave. But something on the wall catches your eye, an imprint, almost erased, of a hand pressed into the stone beside the shelf. Not a carving, not pigment, a compression, as if the stone yielded, briefly, to the pressure of a palm long ago. You match your hand to it. The fit is exact. Above, the light shifts. Dust floats down in slow spirals. The chamber holds its breath. When you emerge once more into daylight, the heat of afternoon embraces you. The air hums with the sound of cicadas, and the sky has deepened to a richer blue. The wind carries the scent of crushed herbs and distant ash, and you turn your gaze to the far cliffs rising across the valley, sharp-edged, silver-veined, broken by deep clefts. Toward them the path continues. You walk. The trail narrows, now barely wide enough for one. You move single file through tall grasses that hiss against your sides, past shrines half sunk into the ground, marked only by stones arranged in spirals or a single upright blade of obsidian. At one point, you come across a shallow basin filled with water, ringed by feathers. They flutter as you approach. White, gray, one black. No shrine here bears a name. Eventually, the cliffs grow near. They rise like teeth from the soil, jagged and tall. The path now carved directly into their sides. You walk along it, gripping the handholds worn smooth by time. The drop to your left is sheer. Far below, trees shift like restless water. You do not look down. As you round the final bend, you find a hollow in the cliff, a flat, sheltered space that looks outward over the valley. Here, the rock has been shaped into benches and alcoves, a gathering place for something no longer known. And in the center of the space lies a circle of charred stone, its edges blackened, its center filled with ash. The remnants of fire, old but not ancient. Someone has been here, or still comes. You kneel beside the ashes. They are cold, and yet, as you touch them, a scent rises. Not smoke, but something herbal, sharp, almost bitter. Burned thyme, perhaps, or myrrh. You close your eyes. The silence deepens, and you remember the chamber far behind you, where crushed thyme once scented the air, and someone prayed without a name. Some believe this place was a council circle. Others, a site for offerings. One strange theory claims the fires here were lit not by people, but by the land itself. Natural vents that once burst forth in flame every decade, aligned with the turning of the stars. But no vents remain, and no records speak of fire. Only ash. You rise and take your place on one of the stone benches. The wind moves across your skin like water. You breathe in its memory, and the mountains listen. Evening gathers slowly, drawn across the valley like a veil of smoke. The sky, once a wide expanse of molten blue, turns soft with lavender edges, and the shadows stretch long and quiet at your feet. You leave the hollow of charred stone and continue forward, the cliff path narrowing, then widening again, leading you deeper into the bones of the mountain. The air cools with each step. The silence shifts, not empty, but full of unseen breath, the kind that fills ancient halls or deep libraries left untouched by light. You pass under a natural arch, carved not by hands, but by centuries of wind and time. Moss hangs from its curve like old silk, and beyond it lies another plateau, flatter, broader, scattered with standing stones that lean slightly in different directions, as though once arranged but now forgetful of purpose. You walk among them slowly. Each stone holds a distinct texture, a pattern of weathering, a lichen bloom shaped like an eye, or a streak of quartz that catches the fading sun. At the base of one, nearly hidden by grass, is a narrow line of symbols chiseled deep and straight. No scholar has yet agreed on what they mean. Some see these stones as territorial markers, aligned with the solstices. Others say they form a map of the stars, arranged to mirror constellations visible only once every 600 years. And there are those who claim, softly, only in footnotes, that the stones are not arranged by human hands at all, but by movement, that they migrate, that every century or so they shift just slightly, realigning themselves when no one watches. A trick of erosion, perhaps, or something else. You pass between them with quiet steps. The last light touches your shoulder, and ahead, you see it, a narrow crevice in the cliff face, so thin it might be missed if not for the faint flicker of torchlight escaping from within. You press your hands to the stone and turn sideways to enter. The air inside is cool, dry, and still. You move by feel for a few moments. Then the path opens suddenly into a vast chamber beneath the mountain, dark and silent, save for a faint orange glow from braziers lining the wall. The floor is smooth beneath your feet, polished by centuries of passage, and in the center stands a great slab of stone carved into the shape of an open eye. You approach it slowly. The pupil is deepened into a shallow basin filled with dark water, unmoving. Around its edge, faint script spirals outward, letters or symbols that seem to move when your eyes aren't looking directly at them. You sit beside the basin. The water gives no reflection. This chamber is unnamed in most records, but one source, crumbling and half-lost, calls it the Vault of Breath. It was believed to be a place of divination, not with voices or signs, but with silence, that one would sit beside the eye and wait, not for answers but for forgetting. That breath would slow, thought would loosen, and eventually, if worthy, one would forget enough of themselves to see something truer. You sit in silence, and the stillness deepens. You do not know how long you remain. Time drips away like watered-down stone, and when you rise, your breath is slower, your steps lighter. The torchlight has dimmed, and the air now carries a scent of chalk and old iron. Another passage leads outward from the vault. You follow it into narrower halls carved into the bedrock, corridors shaped by deliberate hands, their ceilings low and their angles tight. You brush the walls as you walk. They are cool, but smooth. Each turn brings a new scent. Dust, salt, old paper. Then the corridor opens. You stand at the threshold of a forgotten library. Shelves carved from the stone rise in uneven tiers, some empty, others still holding fragments, rolls of faded linen inscribed with ink, bound tablets of bark, thin sheets of copper etched with lines. The air smells of time. You run your fingers over one of the scrolls. The fibers crumble slightly, but hold. The script is delicate, drawn in spirals, resembling weather patterns or musical notations. You cannot read them. No one can. In one corner, a cluster of objects lie untouched, small figures carved from bone, a bowl of river stones, and a single mask of beaten gold shaped like a crescent moon. You lift the mask carefully. Its inside is lined with dark soot, as if once worn in fire. Your thumb brushes the edge, and you feel a deep warmth, not in the mask but in your chest. Some believe the people who lived here could speak without sound, that their language was one of gesture, of gaze, of dreams, that they wrote not for reading, but for memory, transferring feeling through symbol in a way now lost to us. One scroll, translated only in part, ends with this line, "If it must be known, it cannot remain." You place the mask back and step away. The silence has changed. It listens now. You return to the hall, moving slowly. The light behind you fades, but ahead, it brightens, this time not torchlight, but moonlight, pure and cold. The corridor ends in an opening, and you step out onto a stone terrace carved into the side of the mountain. Below, the valley glows silver. You can see the path you took, now like a thread, and the stones that mark your way. But here, above all, is wind, soft, steady, humming against your skin. There's a final set of steps, nearly hidden, winding upward to a lone tower built atop a peak. The stone is older than all you've seen, rougher, darker, the mortar between blocks crumbling. You climb with care. The steps are narrow. At the top, you push open a door that groans but yields. Inside is a circular chamber, no more than 10 paces wide. In its center stands a pedestal, upon which rests a bowl filled with ashes and feathers. Around the edge of the room, the walls bear carvings, deep grooves like waves, layered and chaotic. But above the pedestal, Inlaid in the ceiling is a mirror of polished obsidian. It reflects not you, but stars. Even now, beneath stone and roof, you see constellations not visible from where you stood below. Stars that do not match the sky. The mirror has no explanation. Some claim it is merely reflection, a trick of light and placement. Others believe it is a record of a different sky, long vanished. And a few whisper that the mirror does not show the sky above, but the one below. You lie on the floor of the tower. You look up into stars that do not move. You breathe, and something in you stills. The wind hums through the tower's hollow teeth. And you do not dream. The stars remain as you close your eyes, not vanishing but shifting, slowly, as if stirred by thought or breath. When you open them again, the mirror in the ceiling holds only darkness. And the chamber has cooled. You rise from the stone floor, joints quiet, breath steady, and step once more into the embrace of wind and mountain air. Night has deepened fully, casting the valley into shadow and shimmer, the trees below swaying like waves in some ancient ocean of leaves and bone. The stairway behind you narrows even further, tapering down the far side of the peak in a land no longer walked by many. You descend carefully, feet pressing into soft gravel, past broken railings and slabs that have slid loose from the path's edge. With each step, the silence wraps closer, the kind that settles only where no voices have been heard in centuries. Far below, a narrow glen waits, its edges hidden in mist, and your path leads straight into it. The trees here are not like those above. Their bark is pale and smooth, their leaves small and silver-veined, trembling even without breeze. As you pass between them, your fingers brush against their trunks, and the chill of their skin lingers on your palm like memory. The air holds a scent that is both sweet and sharp, something like pine, something like myrrh. In the center of the glen lies a circle of standing stones, smaller than those before, but closer together, enclosing a space only just wide enough for a person to sit. You enter without hesitation. As you pass through the circle, your ears pop, gently, as if crossing into a different pressure. Inside, sound dulls. The wind becomes a murmur, the leaves a hush. You sit in the center and close your eyes again. This is the hollow ring, or so one fragment of parchment called it. No full record explains its use. Some say it was a site for watching the stars through sound rather than sight. Others say the trees themselves carry messages to the circle's heart, and one unverified claim suggests that during a certain lunar eclipse, the stones emit tones so soft they can only be heard when asleep. You listen, and though you hear no music, the silence deepens in layers. It feels as if someone once sat here before you and left a shape in the air, an echo of their breath now waiting to align with yours. You stay for a time, then rise. Past the trees, the land slopes gently downward, leading you to a long, low structure half buried in the earth. Its roof is flat, covered in moss and fallen leaves, and only a small set of steps leads to a door half rotted from age. You press it open and enter. Inside is darkness, warm and still. The floor is soft with dust. Along the walls, shelves are carved directly into the stone, each holding strange objects, bundles of straw tied with red cord, folded strips of dark paper, stones shaped like hearts or drops of rain. You touch none of them. Their presence is quiet but alert, like the breath of a sleeping animal. In the center lies a low table. On it, a single bowl of clay holds water, so still it might be glass. You lean closer. In it, you see not your reflection, but a series of images, brief, soft-edged, like dreams remembered just after waking. A child placing stones in a circle. A woman brushing dust from an old map. A fire lit in silence, with eyes closed. Then the water clears, and it is only water again. This place is called the House of Presences in one stone etching, though no two sources agree on its purpose. A shrine, perhaps. A listening room. One story says that certain dreams must be placed here before they can happen in the waking world. Another claims this is where all dreams return when forgotten, stored and held until remembered again by someone else. You step back from a bowl. The shadows of the room do not move, but they feel different now, lighter, less dense, as if acknowledging your presence, then letting go. You exit quietly, not looking back. Beyond the house, a river winds through the stone, black and slow, its surface catching the moonlight in thin ribbons. You follow its bank for a time, boots brushing wet grass and reeds. The river speaks softly, a sound like breath between sleep and waking. At one point, the current bends sharply around a cluster of stone teeth jutting from the water. Here, the current speeds, and the sound becomes clearer. It speaks in syllables you cannot translate, but you listen anyway. A single arch of stone spans the river ahead, a bridge so old it no longer bears weight. Its center broken and hanging askew. You do not cross. You only stand at the edge and watch the moonlight catch in the water below. On one support pillar, barely visible, is a carving of a spiral wrapped in a spiral, a symbol thought to represent time folded into itself. No one agrees on who carved it. Some say it predates the rest of the ruins by centuries. Others argue it's a mark of a later people, come only to observe, not to build. And still others suggest the bridge itself was never built at all, but grown from stone by something older than language. A myth, perhaps, but the spiral remains. You leave the bridge behind and continue along the river's path. Eventually, the valley opens into a marshland of quiet pools and small stone altars scattered like stepping stones. Mist drifts low to the water, and frogs call softly from hidden places. The air grows thick with moisture, every breath slow and heavy. At the center of the marsh, raised on a platform of blackened stone, is a single chamber open to the sky. Its roof has long since fallen. Ivy trails down its sides. You step through the opening and find only a single chair carved from white stone, its seat smooth, its back high, marked by the faint outline of a crescent. You sit. The silence here is deep, but not empty. You feel it gathering around you, not pressing, not watching, simply being, as if the very act of sitting here completes something long left unfinished. The mist gathers and coils around your feet. A bird cries once in the distance, then falls quiet. And above you, the stars begin to change. They shift slowly at first, just one star trembling free of its place, sliding with deliberate stillness along a new curve of sky. Then another, until the heavens ripple with motion. You watch from the white chair, body still, breath deep and steady, as the constellations unravel like threads from a long woven tapestry. Where once there were forms you half recognized, shapes traced by sailors and scribes, animals and gods, now there are patterns that pulse and spiral, unfamiliar and yet strangely precise. The ancients may have seen this, too. Some fragments found deep within mountain vaults describe a sky that breathes, a night in which the stars do not hold their places, but instead reveal a deeper script written beneath the surface. The belief held that on rare nights, when the air, the earth, and the blood within the watcher aligned, the true map of the heavens would reveal itself. Not a map for navigation, but one for remembering, a story in light told backward. One figure wrote that the stars once moved not above, but below, that their reflection in the sea was not a reflection at all, but a window, a quiet belief, never accepted into the formal canon of star priests or court historians. But here, tonight, it feels like truth. You rise slowly from the chair, knees aching softly from stillness, and leave the chamber open to the sky. The marsh breathes around you, silver with mist, warm with silence. A path of flat stones leads away through the reeds. You follow without hesitation, and each step carries you closer to a structure rising at the edge of the wetland. Part temple, part tower, part whisper of a forgotten story. Its base is round, built from stone blocks darker than the surrounding earth, flecked with green mineral veins. The walls slope slightly inward, as though embracing a secret within. You step through a low arch and into a chamber lit not by flame, but by light that seems to leak gently from the stones themselves. Pale, constant, without source. Here, the air is cool and smooth. The floor warm beneath your feet. You walk between low stone plinths, each bearing a different object. A loop of hair tied with bark cord, a shard of glass shaped like a thong, a lump of petrified honey, a child's shoe carved from a single piece of wood. None of them labeled, none of them explained. These are votives, perhaps, or offerings. One ancient inscription found near this site reads, "We leave not what is precious, but what is remembered." This place, then, may be a temple not for worship, but for recall. A sanctuary for memory, not of names or dates, but of moments, emotions, dreams nearly lost. You kneel before one plinth. The object, there is a thin disc of bone, etched with a spiral, so fine it can barely be seen unless tilted just right. You lift it gently, and the moment your fingers close around its edge, you feel, not knowledge but sensation, warmth, loss, a wind that tastes like salt, a face you do not know, and yet your eyes water at the shape of its absence. You sit down carefully. The air shifts. Beyond this chamber lies another, smaller, more narrow. A passage leads you there, its ceiling pressing low, its walls close. At its center is a single slab, like a bed or a tomb, and on the wall above it, a mural in faded ochre. A tree, but not a tree of this earth. Its branches like veins, its roots like fire, its trunk filled with stars. No inscription, no signature, only this image, this impossibility, this memory etched in color. Some suggest this symbol was central to their beliefs, that all life, all time, all memory stems from a single source that both grows and burns, lives and dies. That to sleep beneath, its image was to be pulled closer to it. Not in body, but in dream. You lie on the stone, the mural above. The surface is cold, but the air warms around you. You close your eyes, and for a moment, feel nothing. Then, slowly, the silence takes shape again. You see the stars shift once more, but not above you. Behind your eyelids. Inside. The darkness is not absence. It is full. When you rise, you're not sure how much time has passed. The chamber is unchanged. The air is still, but something in you has softened, opened. You leave the mural behind and pass into a final corridor, narrower than before. It curves slowly downward, cut directly into the stone, and as you walk, the light behind you dims while a new light grows ahead, cool, crystalline, unblinking. You emerge into a cavern of salt and silver. The walls glitter faintly, their surfaces slick with mineral sheen. Columns of stone rise like frozen waterfalls, and a pool lies at the center, mirror still and lit from below by soft blue luminescence. You approach it quietly, your footsteps muted against the salt-coated floor. The air is sharp here, clean, almost electric. This place has no known name. No maps mark it. No scrolls reference it directly. But among the oldest oral traditions, passed by families who lived far downstream for generations, there is mention of the place where breath does not echo. A space carved not by tools, but by time itself, left hollow for silence to dwell in peace. You kneel at the water's edge. The pool does not reflect your face, only your outline, like a memory half-formed. When you dip your fingers into the surface, it feels neither cold nor warm, just present. Still, deep. Some believe this water was sacred, used only in rituals of parting. That before a journey too long or dangerous, one would come here to touch the water and leave a portion of themselves behind, not as protection, but as promise. A trace, a marker. You let your fingers rest there a moment longer. Then you rise, step back, and let the silence gather around you one last time before turning toward the tunnel again. Your path now leads upward, spiraling slowly through layers of stone where the walls grow warmer, where the mineral patterns shift from silver to amber, then deep rose. You climb. You do not look back. The air lightens. A new scent greets you, something dry, earthen, and sun-baked. And then, ahead, a shimmer of light, golden, flickering. A way forward. The stone beneath your feet warms as the tunnel breathes, open into day. Pale gold light spills across the ground, catching flecks of mica in the rock and casting long, trembling shadows along the corridor walls. You emerge slowly, eyes narrowing as they adjust, and step once more into the open, into a high, wind-scoured plateau strewn with sun-bleached ruins and fragments of carved pillars half buried in time. The wind here carries dust and distance. It speaks across centuries, tugging gently at your sleeves, whispering through the hollow ribs of collapsed archways. You walk forward, boots crunching lightly over gravel and broken tile. This was once a sanctuary. You feel it more than know it, a place set far from roads and rivers, where only the determined or desperate would come. And yet someone built with care. Stone benches still rest in the shade of broken colonnades. A single tree, gnarled and silver-leaved, grows from the courtyard center, its roots splitting ancient paving stones in quiet triumph. Beneath it lies a basin carved into the ground, dry now, but shaped with purpose, like a place once meant for sacred waters or silent offerings. You kneel beside it, tracing your fingers along the rim. The stone is worn smooth by generations of touch. There are markings here, faint and angular, a language lost before alphabets hardened into permanence. One symbol repeats, spiraling inward. It echoes the symbol from the broken bridge, and again from the chamber with the bone disc. You're being led. Above you, a shadow moves. You look up slowly. There, carved into the rock wall rising behind the sanctuary, is a doorway, not at ground level, but set high, nearly unreachable. A stair once led there. You can see the faint sockets where beams were placed. Time has erased the path, but not the opening itself. It remains dark and rectangular, like a waiting eye. You find a way. Eventually, carefully climbing narrow ledges and led by handholds worn into the rock itself. When you reach the threshold, your body pauses without command. The air is different here, thinner and cool, scented with dried herbs and the faint trace of ash. You step inside. The passage turns immediately. Light fades behind you. Your footsteps echo now, soft and distant. The tunnel bends left, then right, then narrows until only one person at a time could pass. And then it opens again. You step into a chamber round and high-ceilinged, lit from above by a narrow slit of daylight. The walls are covered in murals, layered, overlapping, faded by time, but still vibrant in places. You move slowly, circling the space. Here, a figure raises a hand to the stars. There, another descends into water with stones tied to their waist. You see a tree drawn in fire, a door that opens onto sky, a set of hands that hold a tiny orb of light. At the center of the room lies a platform, circular and low, made not from stone but from clay hardened into smooth form. Carved across its surface are rings, concentric, exact, interrupted only once by a deep crack that splits it from edge to core. This is known as the listening floor in one surviving scroll. Scholars argue whether it was an instrument of sound, a vibration, or simply symbolic. One theory, widely discredited but never fully disproven, claims that the floor was used to record footsteps, so precisely, so permanently, that they could be replayed like songs in the right conditions. You place your foot gently in the center. For a moment, nothing. Then, faintly, as if far beneath the surface, a low hum, just one note, deep and still. It vibrates through your bones more than your ears. You stand completely still, and it fades. You take one step, and it returns. Not music, not voice, something between. You leave the platform with reverence, stepping backward, and turn toward the far wall where a narrow opening glows with a richer light, amber, alive. It leads you into a final passage where heat begins to bloom. The air thickens with a scent of iron and earth, and your skin grows damp from the rising warmth. When you reach the final threshold, you pause. Before you lies a vast cavern, lit by a field of fireflies. Not insects, but glowing stones embedded in the walls, each pulsing gently, like breath. The air is alive here. You step down into it, and your boots strike the stone with weight and silence. In the center, a monolith rises, a slab of dark stone veined with fire. Around it, a low trench spirals outward, and the walls are etched with endless tiny lines, like a record too fine for any needle. You run your hand along it. The warmth is steady, calming. According to one recovered tablet, this is the hearthstone of the forgotten, believed to be the last refuge of a people who fled some great, unnamed catastrophe. Not a tomb, not a throne, but a final archive. Not a words, but a presence. Memory embedded not in language, but in rhythm, in shape, in silence held long enough to become part of the stone itself. No historian agrees what this place truly was. Some argue it was never inhabited at all, but conjured through ritual, appearing only when the seeker has passed all other doors. Others claim it once stood on the surface, later buried by landslides and time. Still others insist that it's not meant to be found, but remembered piece by piece in dreams. You stand beside the hearthstone and close your eyes. You listen not for sound, but for stillness. The walls do not speak, but they hold you. And far above, somewhere beyond layers of stone and history, the stars begin to return to their places. You linger beside the hearthstone as the chamber breathes in quiet pulses of light, each flicker a heartbeat, each pause a memory suspended in time. The warmth no longer surprises you. It feels familiar now, as though you've carried it for longer than you've walked these passages. Slowly, your fingers slip from the stone surface, and you begin to move again, drawn by the curve of the trench, spiraling outward like a shell, like a path back through memory. The air thickens with dust, but it is soft dust, scented with minerals and silence. You follow a corridor carved in smooth, patient arcs, passing low alcoves filled with fragments, bone, bronze, worn cloth, bits of ceramic colored like storm clouds. You pause before each one, not to name or understand, but simply to acknowledge. These are the echoes left behind by hands no longer remembered, but never truly gone. Each one seems to whisper the same thing. We were here. We mattered. Eventually, the corridor narrows and begins to rise. Your steps are steady. The incline is gentle. The stone beneath your feet warm, dry, solid. The spiral leads you upward towards something lighter, something that shimmers faintly through the stone ahead. As you climb, you begin to feel a pressure behind your eyes. Not pain, but a presence, like the weight of unshed tears or the memory of a lullaby half forgotten. You reach a chamber at the top, round like the others, but this one is open to the sky. Not fully, but enough to let a shaft of dusk blue light pour in through a crack in the ceiling. You walk beneath it and feel the breeze on your skin, cool and dry. A shallow pool rests at the center, its surface untouched, glass still. This is the sky mirror. Ancient maps mention it only once. In the margins of a crumbling chart found wedged between the walls of a collapsed observatory. No coordinates, no directions, just a sentence, where the stars kneel to drink. Some believe this was metaphor, but others believe the sky mirror reflects a moment older than history, when the sky itself bent low to touch the earth. You kneel beside the water, and your reflection meets you not with clarity, but with memory. You don't see your face, you see your journey. A single flame flickering beneath stone, a carved spiral, footsteps in echoing halls. The scent of time, the taste of salt wind. You see the stars moving, shifting, folding into the shape of something nearly remembered. You see doors opened, and some never touched. You see the waiting silence, always present. Then the pool ripples, though no wind touches it. And you understand. You're no longer looking back. You're looking forward. You rise and pass through the final arch. It leads into a long corridor of red stone, walls etched with overlapping scripts, languages both known and lost, layered one atop another like voices speaking in unison across time. As you walk, your fingertips brush the carvings, each one carrying weight, some soft as breath, others sharp as obsidian. They don't ask to be read, only felt. One phrase repeats. To remember is not to remain. The path narrows again, but this time, light grows ahead. A soft, open light. You step into a final space. Neither chamber nor tunnel, but a threshold, shaped like a doorway, and yet leading nowhere. Just open air beyond. A precipice. You walk to its edge. Before you, the land stretches wide, mist curling low over folded hills, rivers shining like threads of mercury in the growing dusk. Far away, mountains fade into haze. The sky is deepening. Stars not yet visible, but you know they wait. You sit, and the stone is warm beneath you. Somewhere in the distance, a single bird calls, echoing faintly, carried across the wind. The scent of crushed leaves and old fire drifts upward. You close your eyes, and the world remains. This was never about what you would find. It was about what you would remember. The past is not a single path, but a field, endless, tangled, filled with stones and seeds. And you have walked among them, hand outstretched, collecting the ones that still whispered. You do not need to speak. You do not need to understand. You only need to rest. The stars rise, slow and steady, above the quiet hills. You remain seated at the edge of stone, breath soft, eyes half-lidded. The wind has gentled now, moving in long, hushed strokes across your arms, through your hair, down the curve of your spine. All around you, the world grows still. Not empty, but held, as if the sky itself cradles this moment in long-forgotten hands. Beneath your palm, the stone remains warm. It holds the echo of every step you've taken, each hall, each door, each turn that led you deeper. The silence you carry now is different from the one you first met. This one knows your name. It hums gently against your bones and asks for nothing. Above, the first stars shimmer awake. Not hurried, not distant, just present. You watch as night gathers its weight across the valley, as the dark folds like velvet over the shoulders of the earth. Far below, something glows, a pale amber flicker where no fire should be. Maybe a reflection, maybe memory. You do not follow it. You do not need to. Some paths are not meant for feet. You breathe in once, deeply, and the air is cool, edged with sage and stone and sky. Behind your eyelids, the journey lingers, soft tunnels, carved spirals, old waters still as glass. You carry them with you now. They need no retelling. They will return when you dream. And in the quiet that follows, you feel something loosen, something long held, gently unfastened. Like a story finishing its last line. Like sleep drawing near. You do not rise. You do not turn back. You simply close your eyes and let the silence hold you.